chapter 8, that is reproduction in plants. To produce its kind is a characteristic of all living organisms. You have already learned in class 6 the production of new individuals from their parents is known as reproduction. But how do plants reproduce? There are different modes of reproduction in plants which we shall learn in this chapter. Mode of reproduction. In class 6, you have learned about different parts of flowering plants. Try to list the various parts of the plants and write the function of each. Most of plants have root, stem, and leaves. These are called vegetative part of the plant. After a certain period of growth, most of plants bear flower. You may have seen the mango tree flowering in spring. It is these flowers that give rise to juicy mango fruits we enjoy in summer. We eat fruits and usually discard the seeds. Seeds germinate and form a new plant. So, what is the function of the flower in plants? Flower perform the function of reproduction in plants. Flower are the reproductive parts. There are several ways by which plants reproduce their offspring. These categorized in two ways: asexual reproduction and sexual reproduction. In asexual reproduction, plants give rise to new plants without seeds, whereas in sexual production, new plants are obtained from seeds. Paheli thought that new plants always grow from seeds, but she has never seen the seeds of sugarcane, potato, and rose. She wants to know how these plants reproduce. Asexual reproduction. Sexual reproduction. In asexual reproduction, new plants are obtained without production of seeds. Vegetative propagation. It is a type of asexual reproduction in which new plants are produced from roots, stem, leaves, and buds. Since reproduction is through the vegetative parts of the plant, it is known as vegetative propagation. Activity 8.1. Cut a branch of rose or champa with a node. This piece of branch is termed as cutting. Bury the cutting in the soil. A node is a part of the stem and branch at which leaf arises. Figure 8.1. Water the cutting every day and observe its growth. Observe and record the number of days taken from roots to come out and new leaves to arises. Try the same activity by growing money plant in a jar of water and record your observations. You must have seen flower birds developing into flowers. Apart from the flower bird, these birds in the axial point of attachment of the leaves at the node of leaves which develop into a shoot. These birds are called vegetative birds. A bird consists of a short stem around which immature overlapping leaves are present. Vegetative birds can also give rise to new plants. Activity 8.2. Try a fresh potato. Observe the scars on which it with the help of magnifying glass. You may find birds in them. These scars, also called eyes, cut the potato into small portion and each with an eye and bury them in the soil. Water the piece regularly for a few days and observe their process. What do you find? Like fish, you can also grow ginger or turmeric. Bryophyllum. Sprouted leaf plants have birds in the margin of the leaf, figure 8.1. It is a leaf of this plant fall on a moist soil. Each bird can give rise to a new plant. Root of some plants can also give rise to a new plant. Sweet potato and dahlia are examples. Plants cacti produce new plants when their parts get detached. From the main plant body, each detached part can grow into a new plant. Bujo wants to know if there is any advantage of vegetative propagation. Plants produced by vegetative propagation take less time to grow and bear flower and fruit earlier than those from the seeds. The new plants are exact copy of the parent plant as they reproduce from a single parent. Later in this chapter, you will learn that plants produced by sexual reproduction have character of both the parents. Plants produce seed as a result of sexual reproduction. Activity 8.3 to be demonstrated by the teacher. Take a piece of yeast cake or yeast powder from a bakery or a chemist shop. Take a pinch of yeast and place it in a container with some water. Add a spoon of sugar and shake to dissolve it. Keep it the warm part of the room. After an hour, put a drop of this liquid on a glass slide and observe under a microscope. What do you observe? You may see the formation of new yeast cells. The small bulb-like projection coming out from the yeast cell is called a bud. A bud gradually grows and gets detached from the parent cell and form a new yeast cell. The new yeast cell grows, mature, and produces more yeast cells. Sometimes another bud arises from the bud, forming a chain of buds. If the process continues, a large number of yeast cells are produced in the short time. Fragmentation. You might have seen slimy green patches in a pond or in other stagnant water bodies. These are algae. When water and nutrition are available, grow and multiply rapidly by fragmentation, and alga breaks up into two or more fragmentation. These fragmentation or pieces grow into a new individual, and this process continues and they cover a large area in a short period of time. Spore formation. In chapter 1, you have learned that the fungi on a bread piece grow from the spores which are present in air. Repeat activity 1.2. Observe these spores in the cotton-like mesh on the bread. When spores are released, they keep floating in the air. As they are very light, they can cover long distance. Spores are asexual reproductive bodies. Each spore is covered by a hard protective coat to withstand unfavorable conditions such as high temperature and low humidity. So they can survive for a long time. Under a favorable condition, a spore germinates and develop into a new individual. Plants such as moss or a fern also reproduce by means of spores. Sexual reproduction. You have learned earlier that the structure of a flower, know that flowers are the reproductive part of the plant. Stamen are the male reproductive part of plants and pistil are the female reproductive part. Activity 8.4. Take a mustard and China rose and petuna flowers and separate its reproductive part. Study the various part of the stamen and pistil. Flowers which contain either one pistil or only one stamen are called unisexual flowers. Flowers which contain both stamen and pistil are called bisexual flowers. Corn, papaya, cucumber produce unisexual flowers, whereas mustard, rose, and petuna have bisexual flowers. Corn, papaya, and cucumber produce unisexual flowers, whereas mustard, rose, and petuna have bisexual flowers. Both male and female unisexual flowers may be present in the same plant or in different plants. Could you identify the anther and the filament of a stamen? Figure 8.9a. Another anther contains pollen grain which produce male gametes. A pistil consists of stamen, style, and ovary. Ovary contain one or more ovules. The female gamete or the egg is formed by an ovule. In sexual reproduction, a male and female gamete fuse to form a zygote. Buju wants to know how the male gamete in the pollen grain reaches the female gamete present in the ovule. Pollination. Generally, pollen grain had a tough coated which prevents them from drying up. Since pollen grain are light, they can carried by wind or Buju wants to know why flowers are generally so colorful and fragrant. It is to attract insects. Water. Insects visit flowers and carry away pollen on their bodies. Some of the pollen land on the stigma of a flower of the same kind. Transfer of the pollen from the anther to the stigma of a flower is called pollination. If pollen lands on the stigma of the same flower or another flower of the same plant, it is called self-pollination. It is called self-pollination. When the pollen of flower lands on the stigma of a flower of a different plant of the same kind, it is called cross-pollination. Fertilization. The cell which results after the fusion of the gamete is called a zygote, and the process of fusion of male and female gamete to form a zygote is called fertilization. The zygote develops into an embryo. Fruit and seed formation. After fertilization, the ovary grow into the fruit and other part of the flower fall off. The fruit is ripened ovary. The seed develop from the ovule. The seed contains an embryo enclosed in a protective seed coat. Some fruits are freshly and juicy such as mango and orange. Some fruits are hard like almonds and walnuts. Seed dispersal. In nature, some kind of plant grow at different places. This happens because seeds are dispersed to different places. Sometime after a walk, though a forest or a field or a park, you may have found seeds or fruits sticking to your clothes. Did you try to observe how these seeds were clinging to your clothes? What happened do you think will happen if all seeds or plants were to fall at the same place and grow there? There would be several competition for sunlight, water, mineral, and space. As a result of the seed would not grow into a healthy plant. Plants benefit by seed dispersion. It prevents competition between the plants and it grow its own seedling from sunlight, water, and minerals. It also enables the plants to invade new habits from a wider distribution. Seeds and fruits of plants are carried away by wind, water, and animals. Winged seeds, such as those of drumsticks and maples, light, seed of grass or hairy seeds of ankh, madar, and hairy fruits of sunflower, get blown off with the wind to far away places. Some seeds are dispersed by water. These fruits or seeds usually develop floating ability in the form of spongy or fibrous outer coat in coconut. Some seeds are dispersed by animals, especially spiny seeds with hooks which get attached to the bodies of animal and are carried to distant places. Examples are xanthinum and urania. Some seeds are dispersed when the fruit bursts with sudden jerk. The seeds are scattered far from the parent plant. This happens in the case of castor and balsam. Now come to the last part of the chapter, that is summary. All organisms multiply and reproduce their own kind. In plant, there are two modes of reproduction, asexual and sexual. There are several methods of asexual reproduction such as fragmentation, budding, spore formation, and vegetative propagation. Sexual reproduction involves the fusion of male and female gametes. In vegetative propagation, new plants are produced from different vegetative parts such as leaf system and roots. The flower is the reproductive part of plant. A flower may be unisexual with either the male or female reproductive parts. A bisexual flower has both male and female reproductive parts. The male gametes are formed inside the pollen grain and the female gametes are formed in the ovule. Pollination is the transfer of pollen grain from the anther of the one flower to stigma of the same or another flower. Pollination is of two types, self-pollination and cross-pollination. In self-pollination, pollen grain are transferred from the anther to the stigma of the same flower. In cross-pollination, pollen grains are transferred from the anther of one flower to the stigma of another flower of the same kind. Pollination takes place in plants with the help of wind, water, and insects. The fusion of male and female gamete is called fertilization. Fertilized egg is called zygote. Zygote develop into an embryo. Fruit is the mature ovary where ovule develop into seeds, which contain the developing embryo. Seed dispersal is aided by wind, water, and animals. Seed dispersal helps the plants to prevent overcrowding, avoid competition for sunlight, water, and minerals, and new habitats. That's all for this chapter. Hope you like the summary. And if you like the summary, do share, like, and subscribe my channel.